Next, we look at how the popularity of music genre Afrobeats is making an impact on the UK's African and Caribbean communities.
The Afro-Caribbean community makes up a total of 4.2% of the population in England. With such a rich culture, the community have contributed in many ways to British society, ranging from food, fashion, hair, and music. The music genres within the Afro-Caribbean community are often divided based on nationality. Bashment, dancehall, reggae, and soca are genres usually associated with the Caribbean, whereas Afrobeats, highlife, and Fuji are sounds coming from Africa.
In London, things have phases. It's only one at a time, innit? Do you know what I mean? When it was garage, it was garage alone. Innit? So there was other underground things. When it was grime alone. When it was funky, funky alone. House alone. Afrobeats was kind of just, now it's their time to shine.
The Caribbean community has historically had greater influence within London's black scene. In more recent times, the African community have stepped into the limelight, excelling in the areas of sport, film, and music, particularly with the rise of Afrobeats. However, instead of this dividing the community, it has been celebrated.
When I was very young, there was a dynamic between Africa versus the Caribbean. It then evolved as I grew up to various countries within Africa or the Caribbean, and now we celebrate it all together. And it's very uniting in that sense, I think.
There are loads of Africans who just want to be like, you know what? Yeah, Bashment is cool, but I'm African and this is what we do.
A lot of different cultures. It's not necessarily the music, it's the vibe and the feeling that you get from it.
I have a few Jamaican friends who have started listening to Afrobeats, which has gone hand in hand, and as you can tell, it's a similar BPM, it's a similar music.
Music that comes from the Caribbean or from Africa sometimes share a similar sound or message, but there are also distinct variances between the two.
Differences that I've seen in terms of Bashment or dancehall and Afrobeats is the negative lyrics. I do music myself, so I find that the hooks on Afrobeats are a lot more catchy. I'm not African, I'm Caribbean, but I find myself singing a lot of the Afrobeats music. I haven't got a clue what I'm saying, but I love it.
Afro-Caribbean music and African music is very similar in sound. We are all African. All of the beats, the drums, the percussion, it all originates from Africa.
I think it's dancehall music doesn't really get airplay on sort of radio, mainstream radio, and I think that's what we need for dancehall to be the equivalent, because I'm sure if you can remember at one point, dancehall was the predominant one.
I think Afrobeats now actually has kept the essence. Like, you can listen to Afrobeats and almost feel like an African culture in it, which I feel like sometimes Bashment has lost a little bit.
A lot of it has just become more about sex and vulgar lyrics, because I was raised on rugger around my dad and my mum, and when I used to listen to like Shabba and Buju and all of them, you still had Sizzler, you had all that different kind of consciousness getting kicked at you as well. And I think with Afrobeats being so happy and joyous, sometimes you do hear the difference when a Bashment tune comes on, because the very first thing you hear is explicit, 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 after you just heard dance and have a good time and all of that.
It's bringing Africans to the forefront, and it's bringing Caribbeans into African music in a way that it didn't.